Good morning, YouTube friends and family. I am waiting on my breakfast. I normally pack my own stuff and make my own food, but yesterday's load kind of switched up on me a little bit. I started with I was grabbing a load in El Paso at 4, and then that load turned out to be not what I wanted, so we didn't book that one. And dispatch found me one out of Las Cruces, which is, an hour away, and it had a 2 o'clock pickup appointment. And so I had just pulled into the parking lot at Walmart. I was going to stock the truck up, and when the call came, I kind of needed to get the truck in gear, so I don't have supplies in the truck, which means truck stop food doing it. My pickup kind of turned into a mess. It took way longer to get loaded than anticipated, and so instead of making it to Phoenix or maybe even the California state line, I'm heading west. In fact, I'm delivering 20 miles from home, so I'm digging on that. Tonight I'll spend the night in my own bed, and then Friday we're looking at a pretty good load. We're looking at a load pretty close to 10 grand heading east, and that'll kind of show you guys why I use a dispatch service. But I wanted to kind of quickly touch on a comment I saw on a Facebook group, and they're kind of in part they're my inspiration for different comments that I make. So someone posted, hey, I just bought my truck and I formed my LLC. I'm waiting on my authority. What do the loads look like? I want to say he asked for Dallas for box truck. Guys, I've had a couple different business ventures. I've invested in other people's businesses. Every time I've ever done that, it's always been a matter of research first. Find out what's really there. What kind of market's there? What kind of revenue can we generate? To go out and buy a truck and then ask, what's the market like? It's a little bit backwards, guys. I know a lot of you don't tune into my channel because you want to hear about my personal life or, my opinion on some things. I mean, some of you guys skip right through it, and you're really only here to see what's on the load board, and you're smart. And it's not just because it's my video. You're smart to look at what kind of revenue is there, what kind of money you can make. Is it worth the investment? Some of these loads, pay so little. Honestly, I could get more working a job. Sorry about that. They called me that my food was ready. Anyway, so you're smart to look at what the markets are like, what they're paying. Most of you that watch my videos know I've gone to a dispatch service and I'm not running Amazon Relay. I'll do kind of a side-by-side and show you guys what the rates are coming out of LA and compare it to what I'm being offered. And that's just what this particular broker is telling my dispatch service. They're asking for these loads. Dispatch is going to ask for more, and these people usually do give a little more. So I'm probably going to be really close to 10 grand heading east. It's a multi-stop, one pick, like 3 drops. But for 10 grand, hard to pass up. Anyways, let me get a little bite to eat. I'll do a quick load board and we'll go from there. All right, guys. So here is what my dispatch sent me in a text message yesterday. These are what we're going to be negotiating today. So as you can see, there's 2 different loads I have to choose from. They load tomorrow, anytime. One of them's 1 pick, 3 drops. Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, Jersey. Delivers Wednesday through Thursday. 14,000 pounds, which is really, really light. Almost Amazon type light, right? The next one goes to Boston, Connecticut, Jersey, Jersey. Also deliver Wednesday, Thursday. This is heavier, 39,000 pounds. Paying 9,200. Honestly, we're probably going to be able to negotiate these really close to 10 grand, either one. Frankly, I'm liking one pick, 3 drops. It's quite a few miles, but you know, it's more than $3 a mile going cross country, which is pretty darn good in my opinion. So I wanted to, I'm not going to have time to do a complete load board review, guys. My 10-hour clock just hit. I need to get on the road. Today's load is going to deliver tomorrow morning 10 miles from my house. So the goal is to make it the rest of the way and not have to stop short of home. I want to make it home and sleep in my own bed, you know, hug the wife and kids. Even though I was just there last week, you know, I'm probably going to be heading out again. And, you know, I don't have time to go over the board, but I wanted to make this quick comparison and kind of show you guys. So what I have here is I set it up Los Angeles to anywhere, trailer required, solo, and I'm showing a minimum of 1,400 on the money. And then I have the sort by set to highest to lowest, okay? And this is in terms of payout. So if we compare this to Amazon, you know, the highest paying load on the Amazon board right now, granted it doesn't go till Monday, so will it go up between here and then? You know, that's hard to say. So this one picks up Monday, delivers Friday, one pick, one drop. Obviously it's Amazon style at $218 a mile, $5,900. There's $5,800. You know, there's $5,500, $5,500, and these are loading tomorrow. It was just the first one that wasn't loading till Monday. So as you can see, there's a substantial difference there, right? And these mileage-wise, I mean, yes, I'm going to do more miles, but my rate per mile is substantially better. And so if I grab this load tomorrow, the one I'm talking about, I can deliver next Wednesday and still have time to get more loads in. You know, if you compare that to the loads for Amazon. Now, mind you, you know, we do long haul, and there's nothing wrong with short haul stuff. Our philosophy, and we kind of learned it through my dispatch service, is if we come to the West Coast, take a long haul where it makes it worth your while. Because if you take something short from LA to Phoenix, you'll struggle to find something out of Phoenix. If you go from LA to, let's say, Denver, Salt Lake, even El Paso, the problem is those markets don't have good paying loads leaving. And so we take from West Coast to East, get as much bang for our buck as we can there, and then once you're in the Northeast, Midwest, those areas, doing like 500-mile trips that you can knock out in a day gets you the better rate per mile, and you get more bang for your buck on a daily basis. And this is kind of our philosophy. So okay, that is Amazon, and I'll put this back up just as a reminder, okay? And so this is Uber. Uber's actually been pretty solid. A lot of people criticize them for having, you know, really low rates. I think Uber is really strong on the East Coast. I've seen really good rates from them. But I just wanted to put up a board to show a comparison. So, you know, here's 2,400 miles, which isn't bad. 2,400 miles, it's just under $3 a mile. You know, 7,150, that's not bad. You know, here's another load, you know, $7,000, let's say, $6,700, $6,100, $5,800, $5,600. This one has bidding available. You know, 2,000 miles right now is at $271. You know, here's a load going to Illinois for $5,400. $275 a mile. There's a load going into Texas, $352 a mile. You know, that's not too bad. $352 a mile. You know, that's nothing to shake a stick at there. Paso Robles is a bit north from where I am. You know, maybe had I taken this load into like Sacramento or Fresno or something, that wouldn't be too far away. But that's only $2 a mile. So there's $3 a mile going to Dallas, $4,400. There's $352 a mile. That's going to Washington. I'm not really a fan of Washington. It's hard to get out of there. There's a load going to Utah at $396 a mile. Typical for going up that way because you'll struggle to get out. There's a load coming back to Arizona at $4 a mile. You know, but again, you'll struggle to get out of Phoenix. I mean, again, that's in that window that I say, you know, that 500-mile window. That's where you find your better rate per mile. The problem on the West Coast is, you know, if you go 500 miles from LA, it puts you into markets that don't pay well. So this is why we take the long haul, go East Coast, Northeast in particular. Anywhere you go 500 miles, you know, if you go from Massachusetts into the Midwest or Massachusetts South, for example, and you do 500 miles, you'll probably end up in that $4 a mile range, and you'll be able to find another $4 a mile load. So that's kind of the belief we have, and it seems to work. So there's more local stuff, and of course it's dropping quickly. I had this to sort highest payout down, and so that's really all they have with some meat on the bone. You know, we like to get, you know, bangers coming out of LA and get, you know, 9, 10. I think we did a couple team loads late last year that were like close to 13 grand. And, you know, my team pulled it off in 2 days. And so, you know, there's a logic there. But I just wanted to quickly demonstrate that. I'll try and get more of a real load board review and pull out some cities and kind of show you guys what the different markets are like. I just kind of wanted to demonstrate that. I'm currently at The Thing. If any of you guys have ever been through Arizona, right off of the 10, there's a location called The Thing, and you know, I kind of had a choice to make: stop here or keep going. I probably could have made Tucson, but parking would have been more difficult. And right now with my clock reset, I can run and make it home and still make it in one shot. For now, I got to cut the video short, guys, because I got to do a little trip planning in terms of my next fueling. I do have enough fuel to make it all the way home, but I won't make it into California and back out of California, so I don't want to buy that almost $5 a gallon fuel. I'd rather get something in the mid threes in Arizona. But anyways, as always, thanks for watching. All right, guys, so we're back in the saddle, cruising down the highway, doing my usual 69 miles an hour, 69, 70. That's this truck's, you know, sweet spot for fuel efficiency. So a lot of you weren't subscribers or watching my videos way back when I first started making videos. I posted up a video, I think I named it something like MP8 Misfire, and I even posted it on a group called Volvo Masters, which there's a lot of mechanics that are Volvo mechanics, technicians, and I posted it over there. The MP8 motor is basically the same motor as is in a Volvo. It's basically a D13 that's been painted maroon, and they put a different valve cover on it. It says Mac Power MP8, and the engine family sticker, or the decal that shows your engine number, says Mac on it, but it's basically a Volvo engine. Volvo purchased Mack a few years back, and the automatic transmission that you find in Macks are basically the Volvo iDrive or whatever they call it, and Mack just calls it M-Drive. Anyway, so this truck had a little bit of a misfire, and people were telling me, oh yeah, you got injector cups, those engines are known for it. Out of the 16 trucks I've purchased with these Mack motors, I haven't had to do injector cups yet. It's a known flaw in these things. They use brass injector cups, and the retrofit is to replace they use brass injector cups, which isn't uncommon, but in their infinite wisdom, Volvo did not put like an O-ring on the front face of the injector where it sits on the cup. Other manufacturers have that, and that way, if the injector cup, starts to warp a little, or it swells, if you want to call it that, due to all the heat cycles, that O-ring is kind of your extra tolerance. These things just sit flat, mating surface to mating surface, nothing in between. And I guess other manufacturers have done that. I'm not going to say I'm overly familiar, but my research says, there's two ways to do it. That's one of them. But apparently Volvo did that with brass injector cups, and over time they warp, and then you get misfires. You get a combination of things happening. Your radiator overflow starts to push coolant out because you're getting compression from the engine blowing into your coolant. My truck doesn't have that issue. Or you get coolant into your oil. The galleys there are kind of close together, and apparently when the injector cup fails, the compression of the engine pushes the coolant into the oil. I've not looked inside of one of these heads or seen a cross section, but this is just these are the symptoms that are indicative of that failure. Anyway, so my truck would develop a pretty good vibration when you would lug it down to between like 1300 and 1100 RPM. And old school truckers will say, well, what are you doing in those RPMs? These motors are made to run that low. It's part of how they make them so fuel efficient. In fact, when I get into California and you're limited to 55, I'm going to be turning 1120 RPM more or less to run 55, and I'm probably going to be in that 8 mile an hour or 8 mile per gallon zone. Anyway, I'm making the long description of this, and my apologies, but so I had a misfire, and everyone was telling me I needed injector cups. It's like a $3,500 job. You buy what Volvo calls an injector pack, a 6-pack. So it comes with 6 injectors, 6 injector cups. They don't recommend you do just one. They want you to do all 6, and they claim that increases your fuel efficiency and yada, yada, yada. So because I'm aware these engines have the issue, I frequently take samples of coolant, oil, and even fuel. A failed injector cup will also put coolant back in your fuel. In fact, Cummins are known for that. If you ever, on your Cummins motor, I learned this from a friend of mine. If you ever open up your water separator and you get coolant out of it, you may have a failed injector cup on your ISX 15s. So anyway, over the last couple weeks, I had the truck stopped because I had an issue with my IFTA account. And last week, if you saw some of my videos, I spent a whole lot of time working on the trucks. And I didn't video everything because
I think the content would get extremely boring unless you guys were interested in working on your trucks yourselves. But one of the things I did was I changed the fuel filters on every truck I serviced. And so in doing so on this one, my kid brother, who is a technician at a Peterbilt dealership, suggested that I take a flashlight and look down in the fuel tank and look to see if bubbles are coming out of the return. There's a procedure where you can replace the return line for a transparent line and just look for bubbles in it. And my kid brother's like, bro, you can do that, but instead of wasting all that time, just take a flashlight. If it's making bubbles, you know, they'll sit there and you'll see them kind of drifting across the tank. He says, look in both tanks, and if you see bubbles being formed, he says, look in there before you start the truck. He says, then start the truck and, you know, look for bubbles. And so sure enough, I had bubbles. So my first idea was to blow compressed air into the fuel tank so that the fuel line going between the tank and the first pump, remember these things have two pumps. There's what they call a pickup pump that pulls fuel from the, the lane next to me is ending. I'm making sure this other vehicle gets over and doesn't try to do that stupid thing at the last minute and pass me on the right. So there's a pump that pulls fuel from your tank up to your engine, and then there's another pump that creates your high pressure leading into your injectors. Some engines that have the injector cam actuated are a little different because the high pressure is made by your cam. The injector has a plunger that the cam pushes, and that's where you get your thousands of PSI you need to properly atomize your fuel. Anyway, so I tried blowing compressed air into it, figuring the part that's under vacuum, you know, you'll never see a leak, and if you create pressure, you'll find it. And so nothing there. There was also no bubbles in my air-water separator. So I removed the filter that goes in the air-water separator, even though I had just installed it, and I blew compressed air down the center of it, which if you've ever looked at one of those filters, the fuel comes in along the sides, goes across the media, and then down the hole. And I'm not sure if the camera caught that because I was looking straight ahead, sorry. And so I took the filter off and I blew compressed air down that hole, and sure enough, the line between there and the other side of the engine where the high pressure pump and the other fuel filter live, there was a small leak there. And I was able to resolve that issue. And so here I am rolling down the highway. I've got 300 miles in now loaded, plus the mileage I drove from Carlsbad to El Paso. So all in, I'm like 500 and some odd miles I've driven so far. And smooth as a whistle, silky smooth. I'm not gonna say I notice more power per se, well, and maybe there is more power as I'm cruising and I start to go up a hill. It tends to hold the speed a little better. But I'm also noticing a drop in fuel mileage. I may have to, I don't know if I have to relearn how to drive it, but according to my trip computer, even on this lighter load, you know, I'm averaging less than 7 1/4, and I was expecting 7 7/4. And so I'm not sure. I'm not sure if the computer, now that there isn't bubbles in it, isn't just miscalculating it, because before there was bubble in the fuel and it just assumed I was consuming more. I'm not really sure. I think after my next fueling I'm gonna do a hand calculation, but it looks like I lost like a half a mile per gallon. I'm just gonna have to double check all that. I went with the same grade of oil that we've always ran. I run Rotella. I don't know. That's kind of a curious thing I got. I did change a couple tires, but I don't think 2 tires would make a difference of a half a mile per gallon. So yeah, kind of weird. I am happy I don't have to do injector cups. I am happy the issue's resolved and old girl is happy cruising down the highway. But half a mile, I got to see what's up with that. Anyways, as always, thanks for watching, guys.